Today, I'll be sharing the biggest financial regrets that I've heard from millionaires over 75 years old. Over my years as a financial advisor, I've had the privilege of working with hundreds of successful retirees who've accumulated significant amounts of wealth. However, despite their financial success, they consistently express the same regrets about the decisions that they've made over the years. So, I'm going to reveal to you today what these common yet rarely discussed financial mistakes are and how they should have done things differently over the years. Let's get right into it. One of the most surprising factors that I've discovered with clients after working with hundreds of wealthy of them is what I call the success regret paradox. This is where individuals who have achieved significant financial success, they still harbor deep regrets about the financial choices that they've made decades earlier in their lives. Here's some things that I'm going to cover with you today. I want to dig into the fact that money doesn't buy happiness. We all know that. But money is a tool that can be used, and sometimes, if not used properly, it creates more problems in your life than solutions. Even significant wealth does not eliminate certain financial disappointments that you can have during your life. And there's a big disconnect between financial success and life satisfaction, and I'm going to help you bridge that gap today. They can go hand in hand, but oftentimes they don't. The traditional metrics of financial success, they miss the most important life milestones that you may have. And if you're focused on the wrong reason why you're doing what you're doing, you could be left miserable with lots of money. What's really funny to me is that these patterns, they emerge consistently in client reviews that I have year after year after year. These regrets, they're not just monetary disappointments. They emerge from financial decisions that were made decades earlier, and they can permanently shape the retiree's life trajectory forever. Early financial decisions create permanent life paths, causing long-term impact inside of your life. The time span between decision and consequences is sometimes 30 to 50 years. That's why some of these decisions can be so hard. For example, the decision to save pre-tax versus post-tax. You might not pay those taxes for 30 to 50 years until you retire. The fact that you're going to take on some risks, such as maybe self-insuring your long-term care stays. You're not having any guaranteed income in retirement. You no longer have a pension. When you're making these financial decisions, you have to think long-term, not only for yourself, but for those that are going to be inheriting assets from you as well. These decisions, they occur in family life cycle phases that I found. And I get it, because when you're busy, you have kids in the house, you're running around to activities, these are the last things that you're thinking about. And if you're not making these decisions, let alone not even thinking about them, you could be making some big mistakes inside of your life. Most people, they have difficulty in altering their trajectory that they're established on. That is why it's easier to not make these bad decisions in the first place. What I'm trying to say here is that some of these things are preventable, and helping you avoid these regrets are going to be easy if you never make the mistakes in the first place, or if you think about money and your life decisions differently. Certain financial choices make permanent consequences. What makes these regrets particularly powerful is they aren't primarily about money at all. They're about how financial decisions unintentionally shape these retirees' lives in ways that they've never anticipated. Some of my wealthiest retirees, some of their biggest regrets, they have zero things to do with the monetary impact. The money side of the equation is fine for them. They have plenty of money. It's the non-financial life cycle impact that's affected them the most. So here's what I'm going to cover with you. These financial decisions, they impact time, purpose, relationships, and legacy, which is everything. Money affects all areas of your life, not just your budget or your net worth. How you handle your money and where it goes, it really says a lot about who you are and what you believe in. What's sad to say is I think that the emotional weight of these regrets that these clients have is very, very heavy, because it's over decades and decades and decades, and they've seen how it's changed their life and the ones they love's lives as well. The problem with these financial metrics that most of us use is they don't capture what ultimately matters. Because conventional financial planning, it just talks about the number side of things. How much money do you have? What is that going to mean from a wealth standpoint, from a net worth standpoint? It doesn't have anything to do with the personal side of things. Personal finance is a lot more personal than it is finance. You're not a number. And the decisions that you make around your money should be in the context of your whole life, shaping who you are and what you believe in. Wealth creation can and will, if you do it right, lead to life satisfaction. But what you need to understand is that wealth is a tool to increase happiness inside of your life. It can help you reach your dreams and goals, and it can be used to help enhance your life if used properly. Now, if you're worried that you've been neglecting other important parts about retirement, just click the first link in the description below to fill out a questionnaire that I've created. After you do that, I'll send you a video breaking down exactly what you need to consider in order for you to retire happy. After interviewing hundreds of financially successful retirees over the age of 75, I've identified 3 specific regrets that I'm going to share with you today. These are regrets that are very common. And what I'm going to share with you is the wealth integration principle. This is a framework that can significantly increase retirement satisfaction without requiring additional saving for you. Here's what I'm going to cover with you. This pattern recognition has happened across hundreds of clients. It's consistent regardless of the wealth source or wealth size. The regrets differ from expected financial concerns that you might think wealthy people traditionally have. And wealthy retirees, they think differently, and they have a counterintuitive nature about what most people actually regret about retirement. It's really different. The first major regret that I hear consistently from wealthy retirees is what I call the excess career life stage inflation. This is a pattern that continuously leads to them upgrading their lifestyle with the increasing the income that they get. And so what is this? It's really what you could probably hear referred to as life cycle creep, right? You make an extra 10 grand in a given year. Guess what? The next year, you're going to spend that extra 10 grand a year. If they do that over and over and over again, they have what we call lifestyle creep. And you know what? Once you let that lifestyle creep up, it's very, very difficult to come back down to a less lifestyle. It's a psychological shift in the work-life balance relationship. And what happens in this life cycle creep is that people really transform from purpose-driven to maintenance-focused. I have to have this income just to keep up. I need the new car, the new house, the new clothes, everything. They just are no longer focused on the purpose of their work. They're just maintenance-focused on their lifestyle. This is the wrong way to be doing things. You are more than what you drive, what you wear, where you live. This life cycle creep is really sad when I see it happen in households. And what can happen if you have life cycle creep? It can increase your working years by an extra 5 to 10 years because instead of retiring at 60 on a modest budget, they have life cycle creep and they have a luxurious budget and they have to work until age 70. That is not ideal. While life cycle inflation, it traps people in extended careers, the second regret creates an even deeper sense of loss that emerges after achieving significant wealth. This second regret that I hear from wealthy retirees is what I call the purpose postponement. And what is this? It's just the deferral of purpose and meaning inside of your life during the wealth accumulation phase. And what it does is it creates a purpose vacuum in retirement that money cannot fulfill. So let me walk you through this, the purpose postponement. What happens is that people become too focused on money. They don't have a purpose or they don't find fulfillment in their career. It's just monetary focused. People in this situation, they really shift their target. What they think is that I need more, 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 more. They never feel fulfilled, but what they do is they have targets of wealth that they just keep accumulating, accumulating, and accumulating. Just like your muscles shrink if you don't use them, your purpose muscle, it'll actually atrophy and you'll lose those purpose engagement skills if you don't use them during the wealth accumulation years. This accumulation focus, what it really causes that I've seen at least, is it causes people to really narrow their focus and all you're thinking about is money, money, money. You think if you don't have it, you're nothing. I need more of it. This leads to a pattern of continually wanting more, which leads to no fulfillment in your day-to-day life, and it can cause some major regrets that I'll hit on here later. The third regret that I want you to know about, it moves beyond individual impact to how wealth really affects the most important relationship in retirees' lives, which is their family. The retirees that I've worked with that continually express this regret, I refer to it as financial isolation. This is the pattern of shielding family members from financial knowledge and decisions, think spouses and kids, And this ultimately creates vulnerability and missed opportunities for value transmission to the next generation. Here's what I mean. This financial isolation, what happens is you become so self-focused on your money and what you do that you really have no respect for anybody outside that's not doing the same thing you are. And I've seen this cause people to exclude spouses and kids because what they're thinking is, I earned this money, it's mine, I get to enjoy it. They didn't do anything, they didn't work hard, it's all mine, mine, mine. The same thing happened though when the spouses feel isolated from financial decisions because you're so self-focused. The same thing happens to kids. So instead of using your wealth to bless those around you that you love the most, what it can cause is it can cause you to isolate the ones you love the most. And you really miss the boat by transferring your values and your wealth to the next generation. And what happens is the spouses and kids, they feel disinherited and they feel resentful when these things happen. In addition to that, this thing alone has caused a lot of havoc inside of a lot of marriages. These three regrets, life cycle inflation, purpose postponement, and financial isolation, they aren't inevitable consequences of wealth creation. They point towards a fundamentally different approach to wealth management that integrates financial decisions with life designs from the very beginning. This approach explains why some retirees with modest wealth experience far greater life satisfaction than others with substantially larger portfolios. The fundamental principle that separates financially successful yet satisfied retirees from those with significant regrets is what I call the wealth integration principle. This principle states that financial decisions should be consciously integrated with life design, purpose development, and of course, relationship considerations from the very beginning. Here's what I need you to understand. There's a psychological difference. Here's what I need you to understand. There's a philosophical difference between separated and integrated wealth approaches. Let me explain it this way. If you make integrated wealth decisions, you're taking into account all areas of your financial life today and 50 years from today. This helps you see the whole life picture. So instead of making one-off financial decisions, you're really seeing how saving and investing, working more, working less, affects the relationships with those that you love, your wealth today, and your wealth tomorrow. Conventional wisdom says, nope, these decisions need to be made in a vacuum. You make your life decisions here and your financial decisions here. They should be separated. That's not true. That is not a good way to do it, and it leads to a lot of dissatisfaction over the years. Money is a tool that can be used to increase your happiness inside of your life. Money buys you time, the time to enjoy the things that you want to do. You may not see it now, but there are actually a lot of long-term consequences if you make decisions in a vacuum. You need to use your wealth as a tool to create happiness for you and those around you for decades. If you implement this wealth integration principle, it doesn't really require a bunch of complex financial engineering. It requires the following three specific frameworks that systematically address each of the regrets that we've identified so far. These frameworks work together as an integrated system to optimize not just the financial outcomes of your life, but your overall life satisfaction, which is really what is key to happiness. Now that you understand the major regrets that wealthy retirees consistently express, let's explore these practical strategies that I use with my clients to implement the wealth integration principle inside of your own financial journey. Here are the key approaches to avoid each of these common regrets. The first solution framework directly addresses the excessive life cycle inflation creep through what I call strategic life cycle optionality. How do you optimize this? Well, what you should do here, you should create a cap. Let's call it the strategic life cycle cap. So what you do is this. Say you get a raise of $10,000 in a given year. To avoid that life cycle creep of simply spending that extra $10,000 a year, only spend 40% of it or $4,000. So increase your lifestyle just a little bit, but also use the extra money to save it. So just think of it this way if you're an hourly employee. Say you get a $2 per hour raise. Save $1 of it, spend $1 of it. That's an easy way to do it. And what you need to do when you're thinking about these things is you should really think about the long-term cost of what you're doing, right? What is the cost of this? What am I willing to sacrifice today in order to have tomorrow, right? So think about it in years. Am I willing to sacrifice some living today in order to retire earlier or maybe work less in my 50s and 60s so that I can enjoy life with my family at that time? And also, what you should do is create a future flexibility fund separate from your retirement savings. What I mean here is that take some of that money that you're making with those raises over the years or job changes over the years and simply shift it into a cash fund that allows you flexibility. It's nice to have some cash because what if you want to retire early? What if there's family issues? What if a spouse needs to stay at home sometime? Cash is going to be huge for you. So why do you do all of this? You're doing all of these things so you can set a freedom date. This is a date where you don't have to do what you don't want to do because your wealth enables you to be free. So save some of the raises that you get every year, create a freedom flexibility fund, and set your freedom date. What this does is it allows you to really base the financial decisions that you have on life goals rather than just say, hey, I'm going to retire at 65. What do you want here is what you need to think about. You really need to evaluate all of the financial decisions that you make on whether or not this freedom date is moved up or back. And the last thing that I want you to do is to track your fixed expense ratio. This is what you do. You divide your fixed expenses divided by your total income and keep that below 50%. In short, live on less than you make. The second solution framework addresses the purpose postponement through what I call concurrent purpose development. And here's what you do. What you do is you take 3 to 5% of your income and you dedicate that for purpose exploration. Think education, experiences, and maybe mentorship opportunities. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a purpose thesis here. You really want to say, why do I want to have purpose? And what you're going to do is you're going to revisit that every single quarter. And what I want you to do is to slowly dip your toes in the water here. Think about mentoring a younger individual. Maybe you're coaching youth sports teams. Maybe you're doing activities and hobbies with friends and family and teaching them to enjoy some of the same things that you do. Test it out to make sure that you're having purpose in your day-to-day life in those accumulation years. And what you want to do is this. You want to give equal weight to purpose development and financial goals when you're doing those quarterly check-ins. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're properly progressing towards your financial freedom date while developing your purpose today. The saddest thing I see some retirees do is work their entire life. All they know is work, and then they retire, and they have no friends outside of work. They have no hobbies outside of work. All they knew was work, and they have no purpose. It's extremely sad. The third framework addresses financial isolation by creating a true partnership rather than protection. This solution framework addresses the financial isolation that I talked about earlier through what I call intentional financial integration. So let me walk you through this financial communication framework. What you need to do is you need to establish regular financial freedom discussions appropriate to the life stages and those people around you in the same life stages. So what we call this the family phone call. So when we work with clients, if the clients want to, we usually have annual check-ins with those that they love the most. Think spouses, close family members, kids. And what we do is that we talk about their wealth and how it is a tool that we can use for generations to come. So if you have young kids, this probably isn't appropriate, but as your kids age and get more mature, these are excellent conversations to have because they start to see why to create wealth and why you made these wise financial decisions, and they follow in the same footsteps. And this leads us to the value transmission system. And what this is just us walking our clients' kids through the same process that the clients walk through. We have their visions and values conversations, and we show them how money is a tool to increase their happiness not only today, but in their families' lives for the next generation as well. And here's how you can implement these strategies through the integration matrix. When making significant financial decisions, you have to evaluate everything across 4 dimensions. Okay? So you need to look at the financial impact, the optionality impact, purpose alignment, and relationship integration. So let's walk through these one by one. Financial impact. You need to evaluate today the financial impact of your decisions and how they affect you in 50 years from today. What is optional, right? So you need to think about, what do I need? What do I not need? And then how does that affect my future retirement plan as well? Purpose. Purpose is key. If you don't have it during your working years, you're not going to have it during your retirement years. You need to use it to support your life cycle. And then relationship integration. Your money not only affects you, but those around you as well. So use it as a tool to increase happiness of everyone that you come in contact. Now that you understand the regrets that even wealthy retirees consistently express and how to avoid these pitfalls for yourself, what's very important is to understand that this is a lot of things going on here. And a lot of these regrets didn't involve money at all. It's centered around other aspects of retirement that people don't commonly think about. So if you're worried about how you've been approaching retirement, click the first link in the description below to fill out a complimentary questionnaire that I put together for you. Afterwards, I'll personally send you a video pointing out areas of opportunity for you in your life, with strategies to help you to securing a financially fulfilling retirement. I'll see you in the next one. This podcast is for educational purposes only and may include references to concepts that have legal and/or tax implications. It's not to be construed as legal or tax advice. Such information or opinions is subject to change without notice and is not intended to use as an offer or solicitation with respect to the purchase or sale of any security, insurance products, or offer of individual investment advice. Any strategies discussed may not be suitable for everyone. Mutual of Omaha Investor Services, Inc. does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your appropriate professional regarding your personal situation prior to making any financial decisions. Securities and advisory services offered through Mutual of Omaha Investor Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Riser Insurance is not affiliated with Mutual of Omaha Investor Services. Investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Diversification does not guarantee a profit or protection lost against loss in a declining market. Purchase of life insurance is subject to meeting underwriting requirements. There is no guarantee of an individual will be insured. Annuities are long-term investments designed for retirement purposes. Withdrawals of taxable amounts are subject to income tax, and if taken prior to 59.5, a 10% federal penalty tax may apply. Guarantees are backed by the claims paying ability of the issuer and are subject to their terms and conditions.